Hello, and again, welcome to Bit Depth. I'm Santiago Ramones. Across from me is
Anna Littlejohn.
Thank you so much for doing this with me. I'm excited to have you. Who are you and what do you do?
So that's a great question. I ask myself that every morning. In terms of work, right now, I am the assistant chief editor for the Black Times OK, which is a local Black and queer-owned media production company. So we call ourselves activism journalists. We cover anything from local county corruption to state issues that have gained national attention. Mm-hmm. And then besides that, I am the environmental and climate justice chair for the Oklahoma State NAACP. And then in my free time, I am the keyboardist for a local band named Burl.
Yeah. And also recently another band, but that one broke up.
Yeah, Street Carnations was my first project, and we ended back in October. All of our lives started to change, and we all found different opportunities. And
I like that band.
Yeah, we were fun. I had a great time, but sad to see it go, but excited for what's to come.
Yeah. So I guess which of these do you consider to be your, like, what defines you in a way?
So in terms of the Street Carnations and Burl, the Street Carnations, we kind of started back when I met my friend Josh. And he was like, yeah, I write songs. And I was like, cool, I play the piano. So maybe we could like do something. And so we kind of just built a band out of nothing. And then it was July of this year. I played a house show and Jordan Vargas, the frontman of Burl, just approached me as soon as we got done playing. He was like, we've been looking for someone to play keys and sing harmonies. Would you be down? And I was like, flustered from just playing like a show outside 90 degrees. I was like, yeah, sure, whatever.
Yeah.
And then, it worked out for the best. I'm having a great time.
As you probably quickly learned, everyone is desperate for a keys player.
Yeah, which it was kind of unexpected. I didn't really think that. Typically, whenever people are looking for someone to join a band, it's like drummers are like the hot commodity that you can never find. Like Street Carts didn't have a drummer for 4 or 5 months after we started. And Josh, the frontman of the Street Carts, his dad played the drums for our very first show at Red Brick, which was, I mean, it was fun. He did a great job, but it was just like, 3 people in their early 20s and then an old guy. Yeah. But he was killer. He did a great job. So,
yeah. But no, I guess going all the way back, how'd you get started in music?
Oh, gosh. Well, I was 5 years old and my mother put me in piano lessons. So, piano lessons always ran in the family. My mom did it. Her mom did it. All of her sisters, my brother. And then after doing the piano for a little bit, I was like, let's try something new. So I started on the violin, did that for a couple years. Then when I got to middle school, joined band, did the flute, then oboe, then played the piano for jazz band. Then I graduated high school, went to OU for just a second, did music comp. That was not my thing. And then UCO, ACM, and started learning a bit about music production, getting, a little bit behind the scenes instead of up on the stage. And that was really cool. I liked it a lot, learned a lot.
Yeah.
So and then after ACM, everything kind of just calmed down. I worked on some of my own solo stuff for a while. Most of the stuff I do is electronic, mostly just MIDI, just me messing around in my studio. Yeah. And that led me to the Street Carts, and then the Street Carts led me to Burl.
Yeah. I feel like every producer has their own like weird electronic stuff.
Exactly. I use Logic. Pro Tools is cool, but not so much for MIDI. So Logic is where I hang out. Have a good time.
I use Ableton. I use Pro Tools for audio. That's just because like it's the best for audio. But like if I could not have to use Pro Tools, I probably wouldn't.
Right. Pro Tools is great for like stuff like this. And then like if you've got a full band, but if you've got anything that's like MIDI, kind of like analog, a little bit of weird synth stuff, you kind of want to like switch bases for that. But
so I guess were you forced to play piano? Do you feel like you still like playing piano? Because that's a weird thing about whenever you start in lessons so young.
So yeah, whenever I was young, I was just like, okay, it felt so like formal. And I was like, the piano, like, that's not cool. Like, that's not exciting. But yeah, and I kind of drifted away from it for a while. Like I really wanted to learn how to play lots of different instruments. And then whenever jazz band became a thing, I was like, I guess I remember how to play the piano. Yeah. So I kind of like retaught myself everything that I had learned before. And yeah, for a while I was like, piano is so lame. Like even like on stage, like playing a keyboard when everybody else has a guitar, I'm just like, I'm stationary. You don't have a lot of like, room to move, but I really like it now. Like I'm super comfortable with it. And yeah, I've just been doing it for so long that it's basically second nature now. Yeah. Which makes it easy. And I kind of like, I try not to talk down on myself for not being able to play the guitar because like, what you already know and using what you already know to, further yourself and make something beautiful is good enough. So,
yeah. Well, also you're able to kind of do really cool things on piano that guitars can't do. So
exactly. Yeah. And anytime I do play the guitar, like I know the basic chords, like G chord, I stay there. But I'll run my guitar through, my computer, different interfaces, make it sound not like a guitar anymore. Yeah. And you can't tell how bad I am at playing it because I do that. So there's always ways to incorporate everything, especially when I'm doing my own little projects. So.
Yeah. Who are your biggest musical influences?
I knew that this question was coming and I was really trying to think about it. So the music that I listen to, I don't necessarily stay in one genre too hard. I like to branch out with every different thing. So in terms of my own personal music, biggest influence, I really like Purity Ring. They're, a little like electronic pop-ish duo from Canada, which I don't know why Canada is so good at electronic music, but they are. They've got a lot of really good artists that come out of there.
It's too cold, so you don't want to be outside, so they just stay inside and just make electronic music.
Exactly. And the sounds that they have and the rhythms that they play, just like breaking down their songs, you don't hear a lot of chord structure. It's a lot of melodies kind of leading the way that the song goes. And that's kind of how I kind of start writing music. So I look to them a lot for the types of sounds that they use and all that stuff. Yeah.
That's kind of interesting because, again, like thinking of your foundation in keys, like that is a very chordal instrument.
Yes, it is. And chords for a while were like my enemy with the piano. Like a melody, I can play that all day. I think it's because playing like a woodwind when you're only playing the melody line and then like switching that over to the piano was relatively easy. And then whenever I joined a band and they were just giving me these chord charts, I was like, do I know this? And so for a minute there, I had to like think back on like the music theory stuff that we learned in school. I was like, yeah, I know this. This is simple. So yeah.
Let's see, where else am I going? Let's go into I guess what were you listening to whenever you first started making music, and how has that sort of shaped where you are now?
When I first started making music, oh my gosh, it's hard to think. It's so long ago. I kind of started making my own stuff, I want to say like my junior year of high school. So junior year of high school is definitely never anybody's like prominent time in their life. And if it was, then I feel sorry for them. So I was listening to a lot of like, I don't want to say terrible bands, but like, some things that I'm not necessarily proud of this day and age. I listened to a lot of pop punk whenever I was in high school.
No shame in pop punk.
I mean, I love it. It's a great time. But yeah, for a while, I really liked that. And I was trying to figure out how like I could fit a keyboard into that type of situation. Yeah. You don't see a lot of keys in, traditional pop punk bands. And it started to become a more prominent thing, I guess. I know you remember back in like 2012 when dubstep hit the world. Oh, yeah. And suddenly every single song had a drop in it. And so that's whenever, you know, electronic music and rock music at least started to sort of like mix in a more obvious, visible way.
Yeah.
And so I was able to take more inspiration from that type of thing and push myself forward. But anytime I write a song, I typically start with something super simple, like super simple chord progression that I either came up with on the piano or the guitar. And then I just build from there.
Yeah. I feel like, I don't know, dubstep disappeared and we're just like pretending that it didn't never happen. But it's like a huge influence on like, especially people our age.
Yeah. Yeah. It was wild. Like Skrillex, Scary Sprites. And that song, it was everywhere for so long. And I wasn't really, you know, heavy into the dubstep scene, but it came into everything. Yeah. And that's kind of what I've been noticing, at least with pop music. It's like we get these new genres that pop up every occasion. And then all of a sudden it's in the mainstream and everybody's trying to use it for something. Yeah. So
now it's trap.
Yeah, exactly. Now everybody's trying to have a little rap song, which is fine. We love it. But yeah.
But it does get old after a while.
Oh, it does. And so we're always waiting for the next, you know, big thing to drop, and then we'll move on to the next.
Yeah. I think it's hyper pop. But
oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Right now, especially.
So then, let's get into all of your journalism stuff. How did you get involved with the Black Times?
So that's a good question. So last summer, we saw the George Floyd protests taking place all over the world. Like they were doing this in France. They did it all across the country. And Oklahoma City was no exception. So obviously, as a Black person, it's something that we've always been aware of. We knew it was there. And suddenly we had this video of a cop pressing his knee into the back of a man's neck in a very prone position, like not a position that you're in to stay for a long time. And so instead of it being like, we're used to seeing Black men being shot by the police, and this was drastically different. So it sparked something in everybody that, you know, we'd all been inside for a couple of months. The pandemic just hit. We were feeling very controlled kind of by our government. And so, we all hit the streets, and it was just something that I clicked with. And so I spent a lot of my free time just like joining different organizations, getting involved, staying in the streets, going to local county meetings. And I was actually at a street mural project right in front of the county jail. And that's where I met Ty Baker, who's the founder of the Black Times. And he kind of just like approached me. He was like, "Hey, I found you on Instagram and I wanted to know if you wanted to collab in some way." And I was like, "Yeah, sure." I was like, "I'd love to do that." But I didn't really know how I would fit into that. I never did journalism. I didn't do any type of writing, any type of blogging before this. But Ty, he was making videos. He wanted to make a documentary about what was happening. And I was like, well, if you're taking videos of everything that's going on, why don't I write a recap of everything that's happening? So he would record videos of what was going on. And then every Sunday I would write, I called it the Weekend Analysis. And it was a newsletter that we sent out every single Sunday night, just a recap of what was going on. And then from that, people really liked having the information immediately. So we sort of morphed into this news publication, which we didn't really see coming. It's kind of just what people needed from us. So we filled that void. And it's honestly been really fun. It's really hard work. You get to see people's trauma on a level that I had never experienced before. I've talked to so many different families who have lost people to police brutality, mostly in Oklahoma. There's a man named Brian Sims Jr., and in 2013, he was asleep outside of a Chief Keef concert at the farmer's market downtown, and he was approached by two off-duty police officers who proceeded to shoot and kill him. They shot at him 9 times in the back, and he wasn't even from Oklahoma. Like, he had come down here to visit his stepdaughter. And he was supposed to go back the next day, but that never happened. So we talked to his mom. I talk to his mom still. She's an amazing lady. She's unbelievably strong and gone through things that I could never fathom. And so learning about Brian through her and about the situation and how it's affected her is just something that it was the first time that I really broke down while covering something. It was, we were all in a Zoom call and it was the very end and I was just like in full tears and I like unmuted myself. I said, I need you to know that even though you're not from here and Brian's not from here, like we are advocating for him every single day. Like we will not stop until there is true justice. It's incredibly important that you know that. And yeah, it was super emotional and she thanked us. And I still try to stay in touch with her. Because she's trying to do a lot of work with the Court of Appeals to try to get the application of qualified immunity overturned, because even though those cops were off duty, they received qualified immunity and all of their legal fees paid for by the city. Yeah. So that's our tax money. Yeah. Literally funding murder. So, yeah.
So I guess it's a weird question, but like, how did you get radicalized?
Well, when you're Black and non-binary from a town that was roughly 97% white when I was growing up, I grew up outside of Tulsa in a small town called Sand Springs. And for a while, I didn't realize that I was different from everybody. It kind of came little by little. And then I realized, oh, my dad doesn't look like everybody else's dad. I don't look like everybody else. My hair is not like everybody else's. And so little by little, I started recognizing the disparities between treatment that I would receive and my other Black friends compared to my white counterparts. So racism is something that I've been aware of for a relatively long time. Then whenever you get to college, you get a little bit, more exposed to things that definitely do radicalize you. And yeah, it's hard to think of like a specific like instance or a point that, kind of shifted my whole perspective on how we can deal with these things. But it's definitely happened bit by bit. I know everyone's on we need to abolish the police train. And yes, we do need to have radical police reform. But the thing is like, they're not going to let us do that. So it sucks that we can't just, change it in the ways that we think would be best. But the way to fight the system is to use the system, which is super boring and not fun. But if you play by the rules, then they sort of have to listen to you. So that's kind of what I'm learning, is to use the system against the system.
Yeah. How do you, I guess, in your journalism, kind of as you said, you experience all of these traumatic stories. How do you like deal with it?
Yeah, so that's the hard part. It's like you learn about all these things. You get off the Zoom call, you close your laptop, and it doesn't leave you. Like nothing in life is ever that simple. So just self-care. We're just going to keep preaching self-care over and over again. But self-care is different to everyone. So what I do, what really helps is to find a movie or a TV show, something that is completely the polar opposite of what I see on a day-to-day basis, and just letting my mind go blank long enough to at least, let the anxiety go for a second and be able to recoup and, get ready for the next day. So just really trying to like teach myself to slow down. And while there's a lot to be done, not everything has to be done at once. And so just trying to remind myself to take time for yourself, because if you're not at your best, then you can't help people.
Yeah. And then I guess the balance that comes out of, like you said, using the system to help fight the system. And it's rather difficult whenever you're sort of embedded in seeing all of the ways in which the system is used to hurt us. Right. And so how do you not like give up or even just like go the extra step and like, fuck it all, burn it all down.
Right. So the Julius Jones thing, which took up the better part of November for the Black Times, we'd been following Julius's case since last summer, whenever there started to be a bit more of a statewide conversation about the death penalty in general. So at the beginning of November is whenever Julius was officially granted clemency, or not granted clemency. He was recommended to get clemency by the Pardon and Parole Board. And so the governor waited literally till the last minute before he said that he was going to commute his sentence to life without the possibility of parole, which is utterly insane. He knew that this was coming. He knew that this was a high profile case that needed to be addressed sort of promptly. And this man's life was on the line. Like, not only are you playing with this man's life, you're playing with this man's family and their life, and also the family of the victim, Paul Howe. So Julius's mom, Madeline Jones, she was starting to get, defeated by the time that his execution date came. It was November 18th. And Ty and I, we went down to McAllister because there was a lot of people down there waiting to just see what happened. And it was sort of unspoken, but everyone was kind of on the same train of thought that if they don't grant this man, clemency, they don't commute his sentence, we're gonna have to do something about it. And no, it wasn't anything that, anybody planned, because like you could get in trouble for that. Yeah. But everyone was kind of on the same mindset of like, we're going to have to do something. Like, something has to be done. Like, we're going to go in there. We're going to get him out, like, which is almost impossible to do. Sure. But we were all like, that's what we were going to do. Like, we were ready to do that. Yeah. And then whenever it was right at noon, we got the news that the governor released the statement of commuting his sentence. And it was just like, and the crowd just went crazy. Like, I've never seen such joy, and like it was so intense. It was so insane, but we were there to work. Mm-hmm. So it was like right into go time. I'm on I think I was on Instagram Live from the Black Times account, and I'm just like holding my phone, pointing at the crowd in the middle of, whoever's talking, and tears are just like streaming down my eyes, which is, it was beautiful. It was sad because life without parole is still, it wasn't the outcome that we were looking for, but we didn't have to see a man die that day. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it was super intense, but it's one of those things that kind of makes this work worth it. Mm-hmm. Whenever you get an outcome that's at least, half of what you wanted. And that's kind of the thing about political work and activism work, is there has to be room for compromise. And sometimes it's unfortunate. Somebody is going to, always get the shorter straw, but compromise has to be had in order for things to, go in a way that makes at least everybody half happy. So.
Yeah. And then you said you were also a member of, I forget the specific words, NAACP.
Yeah, so the Oklahoma State NAACP, I am the Environmental and Climate Justice Chair. So I'm looking at...
Sorry for not remembering all of those words.
It's so long. Like, even whenever I say it, I'm like, am I forgetting something? But yeah, it was that kind of happened at the end of August. And President Douglas, who is the Oklahoma State NAACP president, he approached me at a march that we sort of organized at the Capitol. And I told him about my piece that I wrote about environmental racism in the east side of Oklahoma City. He read it. He loved it. And he was like, I'm looking for somebody to, focus on environmental issues in the Black community in Oklahoma. And I was like, I can do that. So yeah, that's been a lot of like outreach work, learning about what's going on in different communities. Because yeah, I know a lot about what's going on in Oklahoma City and Tulsa, but as far as the rural parts of Oklahoma, don't really know what's going on down there. So now I'm starting to learn a bit more about that, and doing some work with the tribes about different issues that face them, because even though NAACP is mainly for the Black community, we're here for everybody.
Yeah.
Like, and our Native brothers and sisters have definitely, you know, not had the greatest, you know, experience by the Oklahoma government forever. It's like Oklahoma was originally Indian territory, like Trail of Tears. This is where it ended. And then all of a sudden they decided that it's a gold mine for oil. And so they displaced the Native community again. And yeah, it's completely unfair. And so learning how to stick up for other brown and Black siblings is what we call them. It's just we're all a giant family. Mm-hmm. So learning how to be there for one another has also become a vital part to the work that we're doing.
Yeah. What have you, because I feel like through journalism, you kind of have to like learn and be an expert about freaking everything.
Oh, yeah.
What have you, I guess, learned through your activism and journalism?
So the first thing that I had to learn was how local government works. So back in, I want to say August of last year, the Board of County Commissioners voted to give, I want to say 25 million of CARES Act money directly to the county jail. And CARES money is money that the state or county governments received from the federal government to help people who were affected by the pandemic. So a lot of the CARES money that the state got went to helping small businesses that had just started before the pandemic hit and could not afford to stay afloat on their own. And so the state got a lot of money through that, but the counties also got a lot of money, and that wasn't something that a lot of people realized. And so whenever we heard this number that more than half of the CARES Act money given to the county was about to be given directly to the county jail, everyone was like, no. Like, why? Why is this happening? So I had to learn what the Board of County Commissioners even is. I was like, I don't know them. Yeah. They just have to do with, you know, allotting money to different areas throughout the fiscal year. And then the jail trust, otherwise known as the Oklahoma County Criminal Justice Authority. I believe I might be saying the words wrong. There's too many words in the world. But that board was established because the previous county sheriff didn't really want to deal with the jail. He kind of just like, no, there's too many issues. I'm going to take a step back. I'm going to hire other people to deal with it. And so we have this whole jail trust, which is also called a jail trust because when you form a trust, you don't have to have those people elected. They can be appointed. Yeah. But if it's a board, then they have to be elected. So it's a weird little loophole that they did to kind of like get away with something they shouldn't necessarily be doing. So learning about all that definitely will radicalize you. Like that'll get you there. So I had to learn about local county government, which was never something that I was, you know, incredibly interested in. And then we started focusing more on the state in general. And then I was like, okay, let's learn about state politics. And then I jumped into that. And it's been a whirlwind, but it feels good to be educated on these things now. So at least whenever something inevitably bad happens again, I know who to go to.
Yeah. And it better informs your writing and it better helps you inform other people so that they can take action. What do you think is the like best thing anyone can do to be a successful activist?
So activism is so much more than words. That's the main thing that I believe in. So back last summer, we saw tons of people coming out to protest. And then over several months, these numbers started to dwindle. And then as the numbers began to dwindle, the people who continuously showed up started to organize themselves. And there were groups that existed obviously before everything happened and then grew a little bit in size and community after everything of last year. So to be a good activist, which is like, I don't want to tell anybody what to do, but it is crucial to get involved with local organizations, whether it's the DSA, Uprooted and Rising, which is a local group that helps Black and brown farmers. Mm-hmm. They do grocery drop-offs every month. So it's like a mutual aid fair that happens outside of Nappy Roots bookstore the second Saturday of every month, I believe. And they give out resources. They give out bags of groceries. And it's honestly really fun. I've gone, I think, 2 months in a row now. And I give out copies of my article about environmental racism, which, you know, it's good to have like conversations with that about people, because people who live on the East Side don't realize how unhealthy it is, or they realize that it's unhealthy, but they don't realize that, you know, there's potentially something that we can do about it. Mm-hmm. Like policy can always be changed. But if you're looking to get involved in the Oklahoma City area, there's so many organizations that need your help. UNR, like I mentioned, there's the DSA, Democratic Socialists of America. There's so many others I can't even think. There's the IWW, which is Industrial Workers of the World. Yeah, lots of groups. So there's something for everybody. Mm-hmm. Like it doesn't matter what your occupation is. It doesn't matter what your field of study is. Like if you're down to help, there's people who need your help. Yeah. So
cool. If you don't have money, at least you can donate time.
Yes, exactly. Because I don't have a lot of money to give, but I've got a lot of time. So,
going back to music, because I can't transition very well, but do you think there is such a thing as bad music?
I mean, we've all got a few genres that we're like, no, that's not it. Me personally, I'm not too into country music. I don't think it's bad, but traditional like pop country music, it's so flat. Like that's the nicest word that I could say. It's flat. In terms of, I don't. Music is subjective. So no music is bad as long as there's feeling behind it. But there are definitely genres that I don't click with. So that's my answer.
There you go. Do you separate art from the artist?
Ooh, yeah. So whenever I was younger, I liked to know like everything there is to know about my favorite artist. And then that can get the worst of you, because then you start to compare yourself to people and like the status that they're at and how they got there at, you know, kind of a good time. But where was I going with this? What was the
art from the artist?
Okay, art from the artist. Yeah. So now whenever I listen to artists, I try not to find out a lot about them, like maybe where they're from and like other projects that they have. But I mean, if an artist is going to do something that's ridiculously problematic and then refuses to take accountability or responsibility for that action, I kind of start to pull away from that aspect of music. If there's some songs that they have that I've liked for a really long time, you know, I might still listen to it depending on what the thing is that they did. Obviously, R. Kelly's out. He's gone. He never even existed. But yeah, so if something really bad like that happens, it's like, no, you're gone. I can't support that in the least bit. But if it's just like something dumb that doesn't really matter, then yeah, I kind of just like, I blow over it. I don't take it too deep.
Mm-hmm. Where's the line for you? Obviously, R. Kelly is too far, but like, is Kanye like?
So Kanye, I loved him. Hard emphasis on the past tense.
Yes.
The music he makes nowadays, I don't think it's good. Kudos to anybody who can still listen to it. I kind of gave up when Yeezus came out. I mean, it was fun. There were a few songs I was like, this is interesting. But in terms of Kanye as a person and then the music he makes, it's like, I think there's an issue with that comes to how we treat Black people who have mental illnesses. So obviously, Kanye has a very extensive history of things that he's done whenever he interrupted Taylor Swift on stage at I think it was the VMAs. Yeah. And that was just like, whoa, like you can do that. And it was like, it was rude for sure, but it wasn't necessarily malicious, I think would be a good word for it. So that was kind of just like, okay, bro. I mean, yeah, Beyonce did have the best album of all time, but like that was kind of rude. So, and we saw that, we heard about it, and we knew everything that was going on with his, personal life, everything going on with his mom. And we still kind of scrutinized him for that. And then another example that I'll bring up is Azalea Banks, who is a Black woman rapper from New York. And I was really into her in high school. Like, it's very abrasive kind of like rap music, which I love. But then as things started, as her career began to grow and she became more popular and in the spotlight, she started saying some crazy stuff and doing some crazy things. And it's also the same thing. It's like, very obviously she has a mental illness, and nothing was really being done to treat that. And she's still demonized every day in the media, at least on Twitter. And yeah, so I think it's worth having a conversation as to what if an artist or somebody famous does something wrong or something just a little bit in bad taste, then kind of just like thinking about also like white artists who might have done something similar and the reaction that they got from the public, and just being aware of these tiny discrepancies because they're not always super obvious, but just kind of being aware of this subtle racism that happens. It's a strong term to put with it because obviously people do bad things all the time, and race, doesn't really have anything to do with that, especially, the R. Kelly thing again. Doesn't have anything to do with race. Absolutely a total monster. But yeah, whenever somebody has a very obvious mental illness and it's showing itself in sort of abrasive ways, just, don't take it too seriously, especially if nobody was directly harmed by it, if it's just a bunch of talk. So, yeah.
Cool. What was the other one? Why music?
Why music? Well, I can't draw, so that was out. I think music, just because it's been the most constant thing in my life. I've done it for so long that it's not even like a choice anymore, like a conscious choice. It's just like, yeah, it's what I do. And for a while I was like, I'm not a very good creative. I'm not even a very good piano player, but that's not really what it's all about all the time. I'm trying to teach myself that it can be about having fun. Especially when I joined Burl. Like, they had been a band, I want to say, for like 3 years before I joined, and everyone was, pretty comfortable, pretty established within the band, the group itself. And I was like the last piece to be added. So I was like, I got to catch up. I got to be perfect. I got to know everything by our very first show, which was, I was so nervous because it was like, with the Street Cards, it's like we all started at the same time. But with this new band, it's like I'm the new element, and I felt like I had to prove something to everybody. And playing the keyboard is kind of great because I call them cheat sheets. So if it's a new song or a cover song and I don't have all the chords necessarily memorized, I like write them down and tape them to my keyboard where no one can see it. So I did that a lot. I did that for the first Burl show, and then by our second one, I had everything down. But yeah, it was really kind of uncomfortable to kind of just join a band that's already established. But all of them, they're such nice dudes. Like, I've never met a group that's so wholesome and so much fun. And I had to like remind myself that this is for fun. Like, no one's going to get mad at me if I play a wrong note. Like, maybe if I play every single note wrong, but one or two, like, no one's going to come at me with torches or, or something like that. So Yeah.
And then what's something people don't normally know about you?
Oh, that's something people don't know about me. I feel like I try to think of myself as an open book because I'll really just tell anybody anything that they ask from me. But then I realize that maybe I'm not as crystal clear with the messages that I send. But something that I wish people knew about me that they don't. I don't know. I guess that I'm highly riddled with anxiety. Like I do a lot of things where I put myself sort of in vulnerable positions. Obviously, playing to an audience is extremely vulnerable. Going and reporting. Thank you. See, you should be a journalist, not me. But going and reporting on different things and having to ask the hard questions that everyone needs to know, like that's incredibly nerve-wracking. And also, whenever we go to protests, it's not rare for journalists to get arrested. I've never been arrested. I like to pride myself in dipping at the exact right moment. It's like I'll push the envelope just as far as I need to get everything that I need without, putting myself at risk. And for a while I was like, am I a bad activist because I haven't been arrested yet? Because a lot of my colleagues in the activist scene have gone to jail, but I'm like, no, I'm the person keeping people from going to jail. Like I'm trying to keep everybody safe. So yeah, if you see me out in the field doing anything and you think that I've got it going on, just know that I'm trying to keep it together as best as I can.
Yeah, we're all trying our best.
Oh, we're trying so hard. It's hard this day and age.
Yeah. What advice do you have for people that are trying to do stuff that you do?
Don't take yourself too seriously. Like that is the first thing. Whenever I first, started to think of myself as a journalist, I was like, I got to get a nice pair of pants. Like I got to get a dress shirt. Like I'm out here in Converse and like a graphic tee. Like I need to look the part. But the thing is like, you don't really need to look the part if you're doing the thing that needs to be done. So practicing little bits of bravery, even when you don't want to. I like to say that vulnerability will typically be rewarded, not always. But if you're vulnerable with yourselves, whether it's asking a question or performing a show, then you will get a response. It might not be the one you're looking for, but sort of opening yourself up leads you to new experiences and new opportunities.
Yeah. Awesome. Switching gears to the deep questions that make bit depth.
Let's get it.
What is the role of spirituality or religion in your life?
So this is like the one question that I had seen ahead of time, and I was like, spirituality. Okay. So I'll just start with religion for me and my story with that. So growing up, originally my mom was taking my brother and I to a Methodist church, and then after like a year or so of that, and I started to, kind of start to become a real child and like learn things and start to have opinions, I just straight up asked her, I was like, why do we go to church? And she was like, oh, we don't have to if you don't want to. And I was like, okay. I mean, I would love to stay home on one of the, 2 days of the weekend. So yeah, if we don't have to go, I'd love that. So religion was never forced upon me. But growing up in Oklahoma, which is the buckle of the Bible Belt, as they say, it's sort of all around you. And so even though it was something that I was never forced to do, it felt like something that I had to do. So looking back on it, I call myself a fake Christian because I was sort of going through the motions. I started going to church with different friends because it's what they did. They went to church on Wednesday nights and Sunday mornings. So I was like, I mean, I don't do that. And everybody's talking about how much fun they had. So I guess I'll start going. But then, yeah, even in middle school, I was very aware of like, this is kind of like slightly cultish, at least like Southern Baptism in terms of that. And I remember I was at church with my friend one time and I was like, this is basically a book club. And she was like, you can't say that. And I was like, okay. But we're all here for one book. Yeah. So it's a book club. But yeah, when I got into high school, I was still, going to church every now and then with some friends. But I was just like, no, I'm not really fitting in. I was going to like mostly white churches, which is a whole other thing. Like I remember somebody asking me like what I was, and I was like, oh, I'm mixed, half and half. And he was like, yeah, my granddaughter is mixed too. And we were wondering if she was going to come out polka dotted. And I'm like, you can't say that to somebody. You can't polka dotted. That don't happen. It's like, that is not a thing. So yeah, even though that guy was obviously trying to make a joke and be like lighthearted and funny, it's just like that makes somebody uncomfortable.
Well, it also just implies that like you're a freak, right?
Right. And so it was just, yeah, I was like, I don't know how I feel about this whole like organized religion thing. So I took a step back from that and then was like, I'm an atheist. I'm just an atheist. There is no God. I don't believe in God. And as sort of just like a way to reject the status quo of Christianity, I just went super hard the other direction. Then when I got to college and my anxiety started to become a super prominent thing in my life, I got a little bit more into meditation. Having parents who are therapists definitely will teach you a thing or two about learning how to slow your thoughts whenever they start to get the best of you. So I sort of morphed into focusing on spirituality as opposed to religion. Yeah, I don't even want to say that it's because of drugs, but like certain times, like whenever you do drugs as like an early adult, you kind of like, I guess show yourself a light that you hadn't seen before. You open your mind. I'm not telling people to do drugs. I'm not saying don't do drugs, but yeah.
I'm saying do drugs.
I'm saying do drugs. It'll help you at least a little bit. And if it doesn't help you, then you don't have to do it again. So yeah, one night I was just thinking about every issue in the world. And I came to the conclusion that at the basis of every issue is a lack of love. And if we all just treated each other with the same amount of love that we want to show ourselves and that we want to receive ourselves, then there would be a lot less pain out there. Obviously, it's really hard to change a collective thought to that. So just like trying to practice that in my own life, which is obviously still really hard. Like people get mad. You're allowed to get mad. You're allowed to hate things. But kind of just like remembering that hate is an emotion that's a product of fear. And so think about why you hate something so much and think about what scares you about it. And then maybe it'll change the way that you view things. And so I started getting into tarot cards, just kind of like pulling cards, seeing where we're at, just letting the random chance of the universe sort of give me perspective about what's going on. And I took a step back from that too for a little while, but I've recently got back into it. Like anytime I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing. Like, I don't have a direction. Like, what do I do? I'll just like pull a couple cards and then I'll pull some more to find out what those cards mean. And yeah, it's fun and it's lighthearted, but it'll also, if you're not, looking for something too hard, it'll kind of like gently push you in your subconscious direction that you actually want to go in. Mm-hmm. So I'm not saying that it's like magic and the universe is directly speaking to me through that, but you're speaking to yourself through that because you perceive what you want to perceive ultimately. So yeah, it definitely helps unlock what you're unconsciously feeling and what you kind of want to ignore and push away, and it forces you to come to terms with it and do something about it. So yeah, I've been on my spiritual journey in that way, just trying to honor myself and what I truly want and not, take anything less.
Yeah. Amazing. What is your definition of God?
That's a good one. So when I think of God, I think of everything. Whenever I was little, I used to think of God and Santa Claus as like the same thing. And I just pictured like these two dudes in like a matrix, like set up with like a million monitors, and they could just see what everyone was doing at once. But now that I'm older, I kind of
see that they're sharing the same monitors.
Yes,
why would they have two separate monitors?
They're the same person. Yeah. Turns out God and Santa Claus, same all along.
Sorry.
But I like to think of God as just the natural order of the universe. Everything. I don't know if I believe in like destiny versus free will.
We're getting to that question.
Okay, well, we'll get there. But God, in terms to me, it's the trees outside. It's the clouds in the sky. It's the sun. It's the moon. It's the stars. It's this microphone sitting right here next to me. It's clothes that I'm wearing. It's my hair. It's your kitty cats. Like, God is anything around me that makes you feel comfortable, makes you feel secure, and makes you feel like you're going in the right direction. So I try to listen to nature as much as I can, whether it's the birds. If the birds are doing something strange, I'm like, there's an air coming in, like something wicked this way comes. So yeah, I might look too deeply into signs. I'm definitely a very superstitious person, and I'm always looking for a sign to change my life and quit everything and just move. But yeah, I don't even, and like saying that it's God feels so like holy and heavenly, but I really do believe in the natural order of the universe, and that sort of everything does happen for a reason, even if, the reason has a terrible outcome, like it's preparing you for something, or it's setting you up for something great. Mm-hmm. Which is, it's hard to see that in like times of turmoil and like utter despair. But yeah, some of the darkest things that like I've gone through in my life have prepared me for more difficult things that I have to do in my life. Even if they're not personal, even if it's in my professional life. Like I said, there's terrible things that I have to witness on a day-to-day basis, and sort of the terrible things that I've gone through, and how that made me feel as, whatever position I held in those circumstances helps me better cultivate a story and give an honest story about somebody else's truth. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. Good.
So yeah, then the free will question: what is free will? Is there it?
So I think that there is free will. I think that everything does happen for a reason, but there's always two possible outcomes. So you could either make a decision that leads to this version of free will, or make another decision that leads you to something else. So it's kind of hard to explain, and I'm doing a lot of hand motions for people who can't see my hands. So yeah, I think obviously we all can make our own choices, and our choices will lead us to different places. But as far as like things being predetermined, I believe that there's sort of like a rough outline in terms of schoolwork. There's a rough outline of various things that are set to happen in your life. And based on the decisions you make, you'll receive various outcomes, but still relatively all central to the same idea. Yeah. So like, whenever I started piano, I did piano for a long time, and I always thought that I could do like solo music, and I could, make it on my own and just do everything on my own. And then I was like, no, I don't like being alone like that. And so I kind of made the conscious choice to start, I sought out the Street Carnations. I was like, I want to be a part of a group. I want to do something as a collective and make something beautiful that we're all proud of and have a shared experience. And so even though I was preparing myself to do things on my own, like I ultimately ended up flourishing in a group, and I love it, and I wouldn't have it any other way.
Yeah. Cool. Good path to take. What do you think happens when we die?
I turned 25 in August. So I don't know what it is about 25, but it's just like existential, like, let's get it. Like, we got to figure out what's going to happen for the rest of our lives. Mm-hmm. So in terms of what happens after we die, I don't know. Obviously no one knows, but what I like to believe, what I hope happens is you kind of just float. I know that sounds, have you seen the movie Enter the Void? So it's a movie about DMT. So first you get to see somebody do DMT, which is like, okay, cool. But then that man dies. And then you get to see the DMT trip that your brain releases whenever you die. Mm-hmm. And so he's kind of like floating over the world after he dies. He gets to see, you know, where his sister's at. He kind of goes back in time for a moment to look at his past. But it's the whole time thing kind of goes out the window. Time is sort of an illusion already. So he's able to freely move between different planes, if that makes sense. So whenever we die, I really hope that I can just like float over the earth for a while, you know, see what there is to see, float through the clouds. I love the clouds. And then just free flow through space. Honestly, for eternity, I think I'd be okay with that. I love the sky. I don't know what it is. I'm just like, I'm obsessed with clouds. I'm obsessed with stars. So if I could float forever, I'd do it.
Cool. Where am I? There I am. How do you determine what good behavior is?
So good behavior, I'm always down for people to go through turmoil. I know that sounds like super scary, but we all go through crazy things at least once in our life, something that's absolutely just like knocks you on your ass and you don't know where to go from there. And you're allowed to go through very, very low points in your life. But the issue that I have is whenever you make your issues other people's issues. Mm-hmm. So, you know, whenever I can get in a really, you know, bad mood, a sort of, I guess, harmful mood, not only to like myself and my mentality, but to the people around me, I try to separate myself from that for a while, take a step back, be on my own, figure out why I'm so mad. Yeah, but my main issue is if you've got issues that you're not dealing with and you're trying so hard not to face it and not to deal with it, that you're inadvertently pushing it onto other people, causing problems for them that are stemming from your problems, that does not qualify as good behavior.
Sure.
So just being aware of, you know, the way you are as a human, like no one's going to have a good day every single day. And just, you know, paying attention to ways that you can protect your mentality and protect the mentality of other people whenever you're not feeling good. And honestly, you being honest is like, I'll never be mad at it. Like if you tell me that you're not feeling it, you're in a bad mood, you're mad at something, I will talk with you through it. We can find a way. But if you try to like force me to like fix that issue, or if you're mad at me and you don't let me know what's going on in your life and you're just being super rude, then like I'm gonna have to like take a step back from you until you can figure it out.
Yeah. How do we reduce the division between people?
Oh, division. I spent a lot of time focusing on that division. And yeah, it's hard. I've definitely met a fair few people who grew up in a family or a community that was relatively, you know, racist, homophobic, whatever ailment they have. And the way that they've sort of like realized that thought of that mode of thinking is, you know, not necessarily acceptable or right or good or moral, is to, you know, expose yourself to people who are not like you. So as much as it hurts, asking people who have opinions that are very different from yours, how they got that opinion, and learning to understand how they got there is is definitely a way to ease the division. I don't want to say that it's like 100% possible to get rid of division completely. Obviously, there's always going to be things that, not everyone can agree on everything, and that's okay. We're all allowed to be human. But there needs to be an honest conversation about like what is a product of systemic racism or systemic and like cultural thinking that has established itself over many, many years. And, what is actually logical. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, just having lots of conversations, even though they're hard and they're uncomfortable, if you know where someone is coming from, you can better combat other people like that in the future who may not be as willing to have open dialogue conversations as to why they think the way that they think.
Yeah. What do you think humanity is heading towards in the future?
Well, as someone who focuses on the environment a lot of the time, we're headed for doom. Which is, oh my God, Portal. Sorry, it's on the TV. I played that game. I played the first and second game over the summer for the first time, and I loved it. It's such a good game. Okay, what were we talking about? Doom. We're talking about how the world is doomed.
A different game.
Different game. But so the thing is, obviously our environment is in peril. The climate crisis is the crisis of our generation. It's going to affect us. It's going to affect our kids. It's going to affect our kids' kids. And the thing is we can't have division if there's no people left. Mm-hmm. So we kind of need to get our shit together and focus on, the thing that we need in order to all survive. Mm-hmm. We need to have clean air. We need to have, a temperature, a world basis temperature that isn't too hot or too cold, so we can continue to have mass agriculture to feed the billions of people that live on this planet. There's basically everything that we need has to have, environmentalism at the core if we're not paying attention to how we treat the planet or just anything along that line, then we won't have the option to fight for anything else in the future. So, yeah, I mean, it's hard to stay positive about the climate crisis, but there's a lot of people doing, the really hard work and the necessary work. And so just, being mindful of how we treat the people on the planet can ultimately, give us the future that we can all live in. Yes. So, yeah, just do everything you can, man, to keep the world clean and healthy. Like, we got to do it.
Yeah. What are you optimistic about for our future?
So I've met so many like amazing people who are doing the really hard work, whether it's, with environmentalism, with politics, with activism, with music. Like, music brings everybody together. Like, it's truly insane. I like I said, I went to, we weren't recording during that, but I've seen 7 bands play over the past 3 days and like very, very different types. Like Saturday was a local show. Like we played with a band called Net and they were awesome. Like they were so good. They were killer. And then Sunday I saw Jeff Rosenstock in Dallas. And then last night I saw Destroy Boys at 89th Street. And these are all very, very different types of music, but everyone is still looking out for one another. Like, there are ways to be there for everybody, even if they're different from you. So just finding your community and really like living in it and just like supporting one another is like so crucial. And it's scary to like make new friends and like establish new groups. But like I said, like everyone who does these mutual aid fairs with me, like they all have this mentality of like, we are here for each other. Like we all need to help one another. And so just like, yeah, I really like to see everybody supporting each other like that. So more of that is what I need. What we all need.
Yeah. What makes you content?
So I was thinking about this on Saturday before I played my show because like I've been so busy. I don't know what it is about December, but it's like Christmas time is here. Everyone's like, we got to do everything now. And I was like, I just want to lay in bed and like watch scary YouTube videos like on my laptop. Like that would make me so content. But then like I went to all these shows and I was like, this is actually like really fun. Like I'm so glad that I didn't just stay at home, even though that's like I'm comfortable with it. I'm content with it. But yeah, just I also find myself to be relatively content whenever I push myself, you know, outside of my normal boundaries. And yeah, experience things that I would normally kind of like shy away from if I'm not like if my anxiety's bad or if I'm feeling a little depressed and I don't want to go out. If I force myself to do it, I end up feeling a lot better. So learning how to force myself in a way that's not too forceful or like, you know, perfectionist has been really good.
When will you be satisfied?
Oh. When will I be satisfied? So, I don't know. I really want to, in terms of my own life, like I'm relatively simple to be able to sustain myself, like not have to rely on other people necessarily for like, you know, financial reasons. That is the goal personally, to be able to, you know, have a good house so I can like have my mom live with me once she retires and, you know, take care of her as best as I can. Yeah, I'm trying to set up a future that I can take care of the people who've taken care of me for the past, you know, 7 years since I've been out of high school. It's like I've changed my mind. I've changed my major like 5 different times. I've changed schools. Like I've just been trying to find the right avenue for myself, and I've been incredibly lucky to have people around me who support me. Like I'm not really making a lot of money, so I've got my boyfriend and he's excellent, and I've got my mom, and just everyone in my life has done a really good job of making sure that, like, you know, I've got everything I need. And I just want to be able to do that for them one day. So that's when I will be satisfied, is when everyone around me has what they need.
Cool. What advice do you have for people in general?
Oh, in general, I'm so bad at advice. Let's see. Let me think. What do I tell my friends the most? I try to tell my friends to not be so hard on themselves. I have a lot of friends who are working really, really hard to establish their lives, and they don't have the help that I have, and they're doing amazing jobs. Like they're truly kicking ass. And so every opportunity that I get, I try to tell my friends how proud I am. And I, for a long time, was not like a mushy gushy person who was always like, I love you so much, I want to give you a hug. But like I've learned to do that. Like now I'm like, yes, we can hug. Like I'm okay with it. Like I embrace it. But I have so many friends who have done things that are so incredibly hard that I couldn't imagine, like moving to a different state that's, you know, several hours away from everything that they've ever known and like been comfortable with their entire lives, and they've established themselves, and they may not be like where they necessarily want to be at for the rest of their lives, but they've built something for themselves that is so incredible. And truly, it's so hard to do, to create something from absolutely nothing. And they've all done just such an amazing job, and they're so inspiring. And so I just try to let everyone know how proud I am of them. So whenever you're proud of somebody, fucking tell them. Like, what are you going to lose from that? Like, let them know. And if your friends are creatives and you can't, you know, actually buy any of their stuff, you don't have the physical needs or means to do that, then share their work, like repost it. Like, what are you going to lose from a retweet or posting something on your Instagram story? Like, there's so many ways to support people other than giving them money. Attention really, really does do a lot for people. And even if, you know, it doesn't, you know, result in anybody buying something directly from them, people at least will know about it now, and they'll feel appreciated. So yeah, support your friends. tell everybody about your friends and all the good work that they do, and never let them think that they're anything other than amazing.
Yes. Lastly, potentially most importantly, cake or pie?
Okay. So I am a very bad cook. Like I will either burn the food or myself. Like that's what I do. I have so many burns all over my body. If I'm making something, it's going to be a pie, and it's either going to be a peach pie or a pear pie. Those are the only two that I got. Those are the only two you'll ever get. But in terms of what I want, like if it was my birthday, I'd want a strawberry shortcake. Like that's what I need. That's what I have to have. But when I do eat cake, I don't eat the icing. I don't like icing. I want the moist. I know people hate that word, but I want the actual cake. And I'm not really a chocolate person. Like I don't like chocolate candy bars, but chocolate cake for some reason is like out of this world. So yeah, if you're going to bring me something, it's got to be a cake. But if I'm going to make you something, it's going to be a pie.
There you go. Amazing. Anna, thank you so much for doing this with me. This has been a lot of fun. Where can people find you and your things?
Oh my gosh. Well, thank you for having me. First of all, like I was super stoked whenever you reached out. If you want to know about what I do in my personal life, my Instagram is Floricurl, which is FLORICURL. And then if you want to know what I do with my work life, then my Instagram and my Twitter are at TBT Anna. And that's where I post all my Black Times work, all my environmentalism work. And if you want to know about Burl, we're on Instagram. I believe it's BUURRL. Yeah. And we're working on an album, which will hopefully be out sometime next year.
That's what we're all saying, right?
Oh, yeah. Like, it's a miracle that the Street Cards had an album come out this year, because we'd been planning that for a while, but I'm supposed to record my part on Friday. So, yeah, I'm super excited. But yeah, thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, of course. The order of things. Once again, thank you so much. I'm Santiago Ramones.
I'm Anna Littlejohn.
And now here's Sailor Moon by the Street Carnations.
This week you called me up
You can find everything that I do on my website, santiagoramones.com. I make music and produce audio. The music you're hearing now is music I made. You can listen to official releases by Santiago Ramones on Spotify, Apple Music, and the other streaming places. Or you can buy it on Bandcamp because a single purchase is the monetary equivalent of streaming it all day, every day, for about a week. I'm working on an album, so if you'd like to hear that at some point, you can buy my music, or you can support me on Patreon. There's a Discord server in which we discuss deep topics from the podcast, but it's also a community of beautiful human beings. All the links to all my things are on my website, santiagoramones.com. If you like the podcast, leave comments on social media, leave reviews saying how much you like the podcast, and tell your friends about it. I want to help the world have deeper conversations. So thank you for listening to and supporting Bit Depth. I was in the podcast with my 3 things. They shape my life philosophy. Those 3 things are love never fails, it's going to be okay, I might be wrong.